Final touches for the bed of paradise ahead of the APEC Leaders Summit. Cruise liner arrives to provide accommodation for thousands of delegates. And positive response so far from the US Coast Guard.
This is National EMTV News with Godwin Eki.
Good evening and welcome to Saturday's news. We'll bring you those stories later in the bulletin. Teachers in Central Province must participate in workshops on standard-based curriculum. Central Provincial Education Advisor Philip Alu says teachers who don't will not be recognized by the Provincial Education Board. He was speaking at Central Province's launch of the standard-based curriculum at Gabagaba Primary School yesterday.
Central Province is now among 13 other provinces to launch the SBC. Prior to the launch, selected teachers from each province completed a SBC Training of Trainers workshop. They will now be responsible to train teachers. With the launch, Central Province will join the other provinces with the commencing of cluster trainings for teachers.
For the teachers, it is crucially important that they attend these trainings so that they can be able to effectively deliver the curriculum, the syllabus. If they do not undergo this training, we will be able to disqualify them to teach, because they must have that the curriculum knowledge to effectively and efficiently impart the knowledge across to the students.
There are 46 primary schools in Central Province. The SBC rollout cost the province 1.2 million kina, which was met with the support of provincial members, administrators and CEOs. At the launch yesterday, students took the lead by shelving the outcome-based curriculum materials through a traditional ceremony. The OBC was abolished in 2011 after it was found to be a failure through a review following an NEC decision. One of the main causes of it being a failure was because the concept was foreign and it was difficult to use at the national and subnational level. The Education Department has now introduced a new reform in the hope of correcting the OBC. Under SBC, which is to be implemented in 2019, there will be 7 subjects with the addition of the citizenship and Christian values subject.
The SBC was introduced because of the public outcry, and SBC with SBC, the teachers will find it very easy to teach, and they will enjoy teaching it because it's written by Papua New Guineans and they've made it easy for teachers' use, user-friendly.
Whether the new reform will prove conducive for young Papua New Guineans is now being tested during its implementation. As the Education Department introduces reforms in the education system, these young Papua New Guineans are the ones mostly affected. Charlene Airy, National EMTV News.
Deterioration of the classrooms, accommodation for teachers and other basic infrastructure is still a concern for the Gabagaba Primary School in Central Province. This statement was raised yesterday during the launching of the new standard-based curriculum rollout at Gabagaba Village.
Gabagaba Primary School is one of the oldest serving schools in Central Province, with an increasing enrollment of students every year. This year, the school enrolled 416 students. However, head teacher Gara Nagaro says with the increasing number of students, space is a major concern. He added that accommodations for teachers is also one factor affecting the school, with water another major issue faced by the school.
We have accommodation problem, and
we have deteriorating classrooms. There are only 9 houses in the schoolyard, and we are using the local teachers to live at their village and then come to school, at their home. And those are some challenges that we are facing now. Water at this time is a problem, but thank you to some of those village elites who are supplying, who donating water through pipe coming to our school area.
Meanwhile, Mr. Garo says he is looking forward to seek assistance for basic infrastructure development for the school. He also made mention that despite challenges, Gaba Gaba is still a well-performing school in the Central Province.
I'm just happy. I'm just happy that everybody said we did not face any problem. Everything went well. We're just waiting for the results. But Gaba Gaba has got a record of performing.
Amanda Rimur, National EMTV News.
A faction of landowners in Moran in the Southern Highlands have threatened to shut down operations of the oil rig in their area. This follows what they claim as numerous delays and empty promises by the state and its agencies to pay benefits of nearly 35 million kina. Clan leaders told EMTV the government has 14 days to respond.
For nearly 10 years, these resource owners in the PDL5 of Moran oil fields have waited for the benefits. They say the government has denied them by not paying a tune of 35 million kina. Spokesperson Junior Punga says government has 7 days to respond because the state has breached the Oil and Gas Act of 1998 under Section 158, 159 and 160 for proceeds in the form of royalty, equity and development levies.
We will resort to shut down the total operation of project as your government consistently provide total negligence of our legally agreed benefit packages from PNG LNG.
In a recent publication, former Prime Minister Sir Mekere Morauta questioned a payment of 150 million by Oil Search to the government. The specifics of the distribution was not disclosed. Old man Hewa Kambo described the current benefits as bone rather than meat.
You not like give him pig, mina, you give him kumu. Me no baby, me man, me pavan ground. You give him kumu na, then you give him me now na me gege. In a straight.
They are now calling on Prime Minister Peter O'Neill to meet the demand or see the project to cease operations for an indefinite period. They also want Treasury and Finance to help release the benefits.
No, 7 days maybe I give him so when I'm from November 14 close Moran project and shut down.
The government and agency MRDC are yet to make a statement. Copies of the petition was handed to the head of police and defense.
The reason for closure is due to the continuous breach of UBSA and LBBSA agreements by state and its agencies.
Jack Power Jr., National EMTV News.
Health Minister and medical doctor by profession, Sepu Katemu, is urging the public to report anyone smoking in public places, especially in PMV buses. He says there are laws in place to charge such people. However, the Health Department is not getting any reports of such behavior. Dr. Temu added that the Tobacco Control Act 2016 is currently being amended to strengthen tobacco laws in the country.
The health minister says the public is a big player for effective implementation of tobacco laws. He is urging members of the public to report cases of people selling cigarettes on the streets and smoking in PMVs.
If there is a PMV or a bus offsider that is picking up passengers and the offsider is smoking, that's illegal. But nobody is reporting them. So it's our passengers' responsibility too, to go kiss him name, display, kiss him driver, bus number, and go and report them to the authority. But there are penalties that are already prescribed by law.
Dr. Temu confirmed that there was budget in place for health awareness for next year, with the amount to be revealed once the budget is passed, and he explained some of the promotional changes to the Tobacco Act.
For example, the changes that we have already done, no can sell him loose cigarette on street, no can smoke in public places. Now, all those industries, no can kiss him fake cigarette come inside. You have to follow packaging rules, and tobacco companies that have been producing tobacco, we are telling them, when you package, this is the size of the message, that anti-smoking message on your package. It must cover a certain size of the packet and certain size of the font has to be on the package.
In an effort to make awareness more effective, Dr. Temu said every resource will be utilized.
For example, we will have a message regularly on the mobile phones. We are looking at putting billboards throughout the country to remind people. And we are going to work together with law enforcement agencies like police and our health inspectors at every province and every district, and also the public to participate.
In light of the minister's sentiments, some tobacco laws are being breached as we speak. Take, for instance, the street sale of cigarettes. Charlene Eri, National MTV News.
We'll take our first break for National MTV News. Stay tuned. Welcome back to National MTV News. With the APEC Leaders Summit just a week away, final touches are being put to some structures around the city. At the entrance of Port Moresby International Airport, there is a new structure that will welcome delegates and visitors to Port Moresby. It is slowly taking shape with much anticipation from the public. Fidelis Sukina reports.
APEC delegates coming from the Jackson's Airport will be welcomed by two birds of paradise facing each other. The birds welcome visitors and the public going up the Kumu flyover. The sculpture is made of steel and is being built by a local company, Creative Artline Limited. The company's project manager, Iso Repo, is always on site, putting in the man hours and assessing the quality of the job, ensuring that there is no delay to the project. Repo was not eager to talk on camera, but was ecstatic about the project. Repo said the total cost of the huge structure will be made known after the project is completed. The project was taken up 2 months ago, on September 10, 2018. The company, Creative Artline Limited, is working day and night to complete the project. The structure is just under 10 meters tall, with a clearance of 6.3 meters from the road to the feather of the bird of paradise. The structure is 24 meters wide and was slowly being painted. When MTV caught up with them yesterday, the workers were putting the first coat of paint on the sculpture and welding the final pieces. When we went back again today, the team of painters were mixing the paint and the sculpture was also being given a touch of Port Moresby's tribal designs. When completed, it would have designs of the Motu Kaitabu people, the locals of Port Moresby City, and the brown, black, yellow, white and green of the Ragiana bird of paradise. The structure is slowly coming into fruition, but it is likely to be finished before Monday. The team is partnering with Advanced Science Limited that is providing the cherry pickers and will write the text in front of the sculpture, which will read, "Welcome to Port Moresby," and at the back, the Motu word Bamahuta, which means goodbye. The circle in between the birds' faces will have the national emblem. Repo said the project was supposed to be taken up last year, but funding only became available for the project this year. Creative Artline Limited designed the concept, but they are not new to building such structures. With their work spread out in Port Moresby, the two birds of paradise at the Boroko roundabout, the two turtles at Koki roundabout, and a conch shell at the Gordons roundabout are just a few of their work. With the rush of APEC very visible in the city and the talk of the town, this structure, though, is the most eye-catching by far, and the wait to see the finished product is keeping the residents of the city anxious. Fidelis Sukina, National MTV News.
Meanwhile, at the waterfront, first of the 3 cruise liners that will accommodate delegates for the APEC Leaders Summit arrived in Papua New Guinea this morning. The Pacific Jewel sailed into Port Moresby at 5:30 this morning and is docked at the Fairfax Harbour. The other 2 cruise liners are expected to arrive early next week.
The Pacific Dwell is a floating hotel that can accommodate 1,950 passengers and over 2,000 crew members. It is 245 meters long and can travel at a maximum speed of 22.5 nautical miles. On the outside, it looks like a plain tourist ship. But once you step inside, the interior can be easily mistaken for a luxurious hotel on land. There are over 200 balconies on this 14-story ship, with numerous restaurants, gift shops, a swimming pool, and even a movie theater.
And finally, after all the talking, we put words into action, and the first cruise ship has arrived, which is already taking on the participants of the CEO Summit and of the APEC Leaders meetings as well. This boat will be filled from all the different economies, from the 21 leading economies of the world. On this boat particularly, as well as the media, will be also housed on the Pacific Jewel as well.
A lot of discussions and planning between the national government and stakeholders took place before the hiring of this floating hotel, and the PNG government aims to recoup money from the rooms that the APEC delegates will be renting over the next 7 days. The ship will be docked at the Fairfax Harbour until the end of the APEC Summit.
We're very proud working with P&O to make this possible, because it has saved Papua New Guinea millions of kina by hiring and working with P&O these cruise ships to accommodate nearly over a couple of thousand delegates for APEC 2018. This cruise ship will feed, sleep and entertain our guests while they're here. They will feel very welcomed by P&O, and it'll be a fantastic experience for all of those that are attending APEC, and especially the CEO Summit.
Arrangements are in place to ferry the delegates and world leaders from the cruise liners to the meeting venues and back. Thekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
The U.S. Coast Guards have given positive reports after 1 week of routine patrols on waters surrounding the APEC House in Port Moresby. The U.S. Navy is working with a Joint Security Task Force headed by the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary, providing maritime surveillance in the lead-up to the next week's summit.
A team of at least 100 Coast Guards from Virginia in the United States are in the country to work alongside the RPNGC Maritime Police and the Papua New Guinea Defence Force naval officers to conduct sea surveillance patrols. Leading the U.S. operation, Commander Michael MacArthur and his team have been doing little awareness to local fishermen on where to fish and where not to during the lead-up to the CEO's conference and the Leaders Summit.
Our role right now is to be enforcing the maritime restricted areas on behalf of the Joint Security Task Force and our partners, Australia, New Zealand. We have multiple boats in each maritime restricted area, and we're working with the Papua New Guinean Water Police to enforce this restricted area.
The Coast Guards are accommodated on the Royal Australian warship HMAS Adelaide, which is docked meters away from the APEC House. The U.S. Coast Guards is a unique division of the U.S. Navy with over 42,000 members responsible for missions on both domestic and international borders. Their presence in Papua New Guinea is to enforce maritime security restricted areas. Thekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
Over 50 paramedical officers from Australia and New Zealand have arrived in Port Moresby for the APEC Summit. These medical officers will be stationed in all meeting venues and will be on call for the duration of the meetings. A small ceremony was held at the Mahuru Hotels this afternoon to welcome the medical team.
At around 2 p.m. this afternoon, the medical contingent arrived and continued to Mahuru Hotel for their accommodation. A warm and friendly welcome by the local hotel staff for the invited guests. Chief Paramedic Officer Phil Proust says the team is made up of medical professionals both from Australia and New Zealand. They will serve with local national staff during the APEC Summit.
If any of the leaders get sick at night time, then our paramedics, along with our Papua New Guinea St John Ambulance personnel, will be there to help anyone who gets sick at all while we're here.
This is the second allocation of paramedics to arrive for the summit. Proust says the team is ready to serve delegates who will attend the APEC Summit here in Port Moresby.
Equipment that's been bought with the assistance of APEC to provide medical services, and again that equipment will be used after we leave for the people of Papua New Guinea. So having APEC here will be a legacy for St John Ambulance in years and months to come.
Central and Hela dancers performed songs and dances for an experience of the local culture, and already some have gone into the mood of feeling the local culture. Over 50 fleet of ambulances are also ready for use by the paramedical team.
And it doesn't matter what country you're from, when you're talking about ambulance and paramedics, we're in the ambulance family. So it doesn't matter what country, if you're in the ambulance, you're in the ambulance family.
Jack Power Jr. National MTV News.
The Department of Commerce and Industry launched its first ever website yesterday. The launching of the website is timely, with investors and world leaders able to have access during the APEC CEO Summit on Thursday next week.
After 43 years, the Department of Commerce and Industry can finally be accessed among Papua New Guineans and the world. Department Secretary Enrile Leroy says with the launch of the new website, the department can get in touch with local people, the government and other stakeholders.
And the launching of the website is a conduit for us to connect with other 20 economies in the world. And through that, we are able to show what we do by launching the appropriate government policy interventions and programs on the website. So through the website, we're able to connect. And not only that, we can be able to connect with people also.
Minister for Commerce and Industry, Wera Morris, says with the APEC CEO Summit next week, this will be an opportunity for the department to show what they do.
We must take opportunity that come our way. It is important that the information that we must impart must be readily available to those who need it, to those who would want to come and invest in this country.
The website can be accessed on any device as long as it has data and is connected to the internet.
And now it gives me the pleasure to obviously launch the Department of Commerce and Industry website.
Michelle Stephen, National MTV News.
National MTV News continues after the break with overseas stories. Welcome back to National MTV News. Turning overseas now, last-ditch campaigning is underway in Fiji, just days out from its second general election in 12 years. Sitting MP Frank Bainimarama is facing off against another former coup leader who says it is not an equal playing field.
The clock is ticking in the lead up to next week's general election. This is politics Fiji style. But despite the festivities, Fiji First Leader Frank Bainimarama is taking no prisoners.
When you're down and out, you vote for a party that will be with you all time. For those of you who do not want violence, do not vote for SODELPA.
And this is who he's talking about, SODELPA party leader Sitiveni Rabuka. Like Frank Bainimarama, he once took military control of Fiji.
You also were a coup leader yourself, Mr. Rabuka. What makes you so different now?
I have learned from the coup. I know that was, although I said in 1987 there was no other way, there is a way.
He's here gathering support from chiefs, his party promoting traditional Fijian values and culture, including bringing back the Great Council of Chiefs. This was deliberately abolished by Frank Bainimarama, who claimed they were elitist and divisive. Fiji first sees Sitiveni Rambuka as a threat to equality.
God forbid if he ever gets in, which I doubt he will. We have now a more open society than ever before. People actually talk about issues.
But the opposition says far from being able to talk, it's being muzzled by the government.
It's very difficult for us to get a permit. We can't meet in a public place. That's why we have to meet either on the village green or in a church hall, although Fiji First are able to meet anywhere and have a family fun day at any time.
Fiji First sells itself on a modern Fiji, its party leader at the centre of its slickly run campaign, which includes T-shirts and bag giveaways.
70% of Fiji's population are under the age of 40, so it's really important that they're here.
This government has done a lot. Fiji First, Frank Bainimarama.
SEDELPA prides itself on looking to the grassroots, its campaign more community orientated.
Our core values has been on culture and tradition.
Victory's on our side, then we just have to cross the river.
So far, political polls have put Frank Bainimarama's Fiji First in front, but it's not over yet.
By law, all campaigning needs to end by tomorrow night. So political parties around Fiji are out in force, making a last-ditch effort to win over voters.
The country will cast its vote on Wednesday, but a lot can happen between now and then.
Australian police have now named the terrorist who went on a stabbing spree in central Melbourne, saying he also planned to cause an explosion by igniting gas cylinders in his car. He attacked 3 men with a knife, killing one before lunging at police.
In the heart of Melbourne, terror and death. It was late afternoon when reports came in of a major incident. Horrifying pictures from bystanders quickly followed. A burning ute containing gas cylinders. Then a frenzied knife attack, which would leave local restaurant icon Sisto Malaspina dead.
You make a station for us.
He'd reportedly gone to help when he saw the car on fire. Melbourne's anti-terror warning sirens activated for the first time.
We saw police officers coming in. Everyone kind of freaked out, so we locked the doors and we ran upstairs because we didn't know what was going on.
The attacker, Hassan Khalif Shire Ali, turning on police as they converged and tried to disarm him. One member of the public tried to help with a trolley. Others yelled, "Just shoot him." An officer eventually opening fire. Shire Ali died in hospital.
From what we know of that individual, we are treating this as a terrorism incident.
The attack took place in the centre of Melbourne on one of its busiest streets, the heart of the city's shopping and dining area. And Burke Street is no stranger to horror. Fewer than 2 years ago, it was the scene of another attack, a car rampage that killed 6 people. This week, that alleged killer's trial started amidst much publicity.
There's been nothing obtained so far showing that there's any ideological link.
But officials do believe Somali-born Shire Ali was inspired by Islamic State. He was known to authorities and even had his passport cancelled in 2015 over fears he planned to travel to Syria.
The statement was made that whilst he held radicalised views, he did not pose a threat in relation to the national security environment.
I've got to call it out. Radical, violent, extremist Islam that opposes our very way of life.
His brother's also an accused terrorist facing trial for plotting a New Year's Eve massacre at nearby Federation Square last year.
The terror threat level here in Australia has been at probable ever since it was raised in September 2014. Yesterday's attack is the 7th to be carried out here since.
As always, we overcome these events because we are resolute, because of what we believe, because we are stronger together.
Authorities say there's no ongoing threat, but investigations continue as Melbourne reels once again.
A state of emergency has been declared in California as out-of-control wildfires claim lives and force mass evacuations. The flames have spread to more than 5,500 hectares, creating scenes of chaos and gridlock as many try to flee. At least 9 people have been killed and thousands of buildings have been burnt to the ground.
Oh my God, the tree's burning right next to us.
All those homes gone.
I can feel the heat now.
It's a frantic race to get out.
We're not going to catch on fire, okay?
And the only exit is through a tunnel of burning flames.
We have one patient, approximately burns over 45%.
But not everyone here made it. In the Californian town of Paradise, 9 people became trapped, then overcome by the inferno. Their bodies discovered in charred cars as they tried to escape.
The fire was coming across this way so fast, so hard, and burning up homes so quickly.
27,000 people were evacuated here, with more mass evacuations underway as raging wildfires burn through LA and Ventura counties, claiming homes and communities in its path. Survivors then left helpless and homeless, watching on as their neighbourhoods burned to the ground.
The fire people are there, but there's nothing that they can do.
And you think your house is on fire now?
The death toll could be much higher. Many remain unaccounted for after families became separated in the race to get out alive.
When you have 40, 50, 60 mile an hour winds blowing fire at your heels, the importance is to get people out of harm's way.
Traffic on the Pacific Coast Highway near Malibu is backed up for kilometres as the rapidly spreading flames trigger more evacuations. And it continues to spread, growing in size by 80 football fields per minute and fuelled by strong winds.
It has been confirmed one of the victims who died in the mass shooting was a survivor of the Las Vegas massacre last year. More information is also emerging about the gunman. The former U.S. Marine allegedly posted messages online during his deadly rampage.
Tonight, authorities reviewing disturbing messages from the gunman posted to social media as the attack was unfolding. At 11:24 p.m., he wrote, "I just thought life is boring, so why not?" Authorities tell ABC News preliminary information indicates the gunman appeared to be texting or posting during the pauses in the rampage. At 11:27, he posted, "The only thing you people do after these shootings is hopes and prayers and wonder why these keep happening." Today, the names of all 12 people who died in the attack revealed, many local college students. Telemachus Orphonos, a bouncer at the club, survived the carnage in Las Vegas last year, only to die here. His mother with this message.
And I don't want prayers. I don't want thoughts. I want gun control, and I hope to God nobody else sends me any more prayers.
Tonight, people who abandoned their vehicles at the Borderline Bar and Grill are finally able to pick them up, but they tell me they might never be the same. Authorities are also telling us that it is entirely possible the gunman heard the siren from Sergeant Ron Helis and that he was waiting there to kill him.
You're watching National EMTV News. Trukai Sports is up next. Don't go away.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. In the next 2 to 4 years, Netball PNG will focus on capacity building. That's from President of PNG Netball Federation, Julian Leka Maliaki, when giving an update on the team's preparations for regional and international events. With a lot of developing players, Netball PNG recently announced its squad for both the junior and senior divisions. President of Netball PNG, Julian Leka Maliaki, says it's all about having a different approach to capacity building.
We have a 5-year high performance program that we're putting in place right now, and so the idea is that we start building the girls. There's a lot of emerging players, a lot of talent now, and so we need to start building them up if we want to work towards achieving the results that we want in 5 years' time. So the work will commence now. We are also looking at a new coaching team, so we should be making those announcements soon.
She says Netball PNG is currently preparing for its upcoming international fixtures, including the Super League and Nations Cup Singapore and the 2019 Pacific Games.
We have a great partnership with Singapore, and it continues to evolve over the years. It has evolved, and so for the Singapore event coming up, we will be sending about 6 players to participate in their Super League in March, over 6 weeks in March next year, March to April, and then thereafter we have the Pacific Games in July, and then in October we have the Nations Cup in Singapore again. So it's a full-on program for our Peppers, and so it's really about having different approaches to capacity building our girls. We will also be introducing our internal domestic Super League over the next 6 months as well. So a lot in store. Yeah.
She says moving into the future, Netball PNG is taking a different path to not only developing the sport but also to identify and train emerging talents. She says Netball PNG is in a position to know where it stands.
We're moving into a new era of netball. We understand where we are now, and we need to change the dynamics of how we operate, and so we are putting in place a new business plan which includes looking at major corporates to really back us up. We are also hoping to get support from the government of PNG, but we need to build a narrative around what we want, and so we're doing that at the moment. So over the next 3 to 6 months, we're going to build capacity of our local associations as well from a leadership and governance point of view, but more so competition and getting more women and young girls to be playing a lot of netball at the village level, at the district level, and at the provincial level. And we've got a huge portfolio that we need to unpack, and the traction is very good. It's very positive so far, so it's a matter of putting our plans together and really rolling out, delivering our programs at all levels of the game.
Still on netball, President Julian Leka Maliaki says capacity building and legacy programs is what Netball PNG stands to work on and move forward. She says providing opportunities for younger players is also one area Netball PNG has already started working on as part of its capacity building programs.
Like in every other thing, we need to build capacity. We need to put in place legacy programs. We need to be sustainable, and so with netball, that's the approach now. And I want to, build the young leaders, whether it's in coaching capacities, whether it's in management and leadership capacities, whether it's in athlete capacity. We need to start looking at the emerging group of young women that are coming through, and we must give space for them. And whilst I'm president and chair of Netball PNG, I want to give that opportunity to the younger generation, because this is where innovation comes in. This is where the new thinkers come in, and we must build on that if we want to see a sustainable program going forward. And Richanda Kasman has come back. She's very refreshed from her coaching leadership program, and we've got Japath Tulapi and Jacqueline Lahari that are down there. They're learning a lot more things, and we've got the next emerging crop of leaders that have been announced in the squad. So it's so rich, it's so diverse, and it's a matter of putting it together. But there is a strong message that I really want to put out, that we are building capacity of our next group of emerging leaders in the sport.
In international netball, the Black Ferns slugged through the mud for too long on their way to a 14-0 win over France this morning. Here are the highlights.
Boggy conditions helped keep the two teams scoreless in the first half, with the world champions losing number 8 Aroha Savage to the sin bin prior to the break. Lock Eloise Blackwell broke the deadlock from close range before the backline showed skills that defied the conditions.
Walker stepping through one, gets the ball to Winiata and Wycliffe for Renee Wycliffe at the corner. It's brilliant from the Black Ferns.
The second and final test of the series is in Grenoble next Sunday morning.
And Trukai Sports continues after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. In cricket, the New Zealand women's team, the White Ferns World T20 campaign, is off to a disappointing start, going down to India by 34 runs.
It started off promisingly with Leah Tahuhu dismissing both Indian openers in the first 2 overs.
Likes it. That's a blinder. That's the way to start a World Cup. Hayley Jensen on the boundary does all the hard work, makes it look reasonably easy in the end, and New Zealand are up and about.
But India went on to reach 194 for 5 thanks to skipper Harmanpreet Kaur's whirlwind century. Susie Bates also made history, becoming the highest run maker in the ICC World T20 tournaments, scoring 67 off just 50 balls, but it all went downhill when she was dismissed.
Another full toss, Sky taken. It's the wicket of Bates. That's the one India wanted. They are well and truly in control of match 1 of the World Cup.
With only the top 2 in their group progressing to the top 4 in the tournament, they'll almost certainly have to pull out a win against Australia on Wednesday to keep their hopes alive.
In basketball, the Auckland Breakers have returned home after beating the Cairns Taipans 104-81 last night in Auckland.
New Zealand side scoring straight from the tip-off before Corey Webster took over on his way to a game-high 25 points, including 5 3-pointers.
Finally got that sorted out. Wesley to Webster.
Flames. Nothing but flames coming out of this guy right now.
The Breakers now looking to avenge their big opening round loss to the Bullets when they face them in Brisbane tomorrow.
And that ends True Kai Sports. The weather details when we come back.
True Kai Sports. True Kai Sports.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
The weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow: Southern region, Port Moresby fine, Daru mostly fine, sunny as well, Kerema partly cloudy, Alatau mostly sunny, and Popondetta cloudy. In the Momase region, Lae showers, Medeng and Vanimo rain showers, Wewak rain showers and possible thunderstorm. And to the New Guinea Islands, Loringau partly cloudy, KVN Kokopo and Rabaul shower, Kimbe cloudy, while Buka showers and possible thunderstorms. And in the Highlands region, all centres are shower or 2.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And that's the way it is this Saturday, the 10th of November 2018. From the news team, pleasant viewing. Good night.